And today, what I want to do is get your 2021 started and revved up. I know a lot of people kind of came into January thinking there was just going to be more of the same. And I think 2021 is shaping up to be a much different year for many of us. And at least I hope so. But there's a lot of things that you can do now to make sure that this year is better than last. And if last year was great for you, make it even better. So I want to talk about some marketing strategies for your firm, what you can do, and give you some guidance. Now, before this webinar, George sent out a one-page marketing plan for you. So it's in your inbox. If you haven't gotten it yet, go get it, open it up, follow along, because that is going to be the premise for today. So first of all, why should you create a marketing plan? One, a marketing plan and taking the time to create a marketing plan creates focus. We all need focus. You know from working with your clients how important it is for them to be focused on results, what they want to achieve. Creating a marketing plan and all the elements that go with that also help you track your activity and your results. It creates efficiency in your marketing efforts and your business development efforts, that all important efficiency. So you know what you should do and why you should do it, and what you should do more of and what you should do less of. It also creates, as a result of that, a stronger, greater return on investment. And I know that most of us, if not all of us on this call, are financial based. We're numbers based people. And we know the importance of ROI. We know the importance of everything that we do achieving a return on investment, and so should your marketing. The other reason that it is really important to take the time to create your own marketing plan and go through this process is simple goal setting. Every single study out there shows one thing about goals, and that is if you create a plan around your goals and you truly define your goals, you are more likely to achieve those goals than those who do not plan. So why wouldn't we want to do this? So the steps that I'm going to talk about today, and this is a really simplified approach for all of you. Every single one of you should have a key elements by the time, if you follow along on this one-page plan, and just, if you don't have time to download it, just get a piece of paper, take some notes. You should have the elements of your marketing plan developed by the time we finish today. The steps, we're going to start with goals. We're going to talk target market. We're going to talk about some of the tools. We're going to talk about how to implement and think about some quick wins to get that motivation going. We'll touch on your team and the roles of your team, how to measure success, what to do to get going, what your action plan should look like. So those are the elements. Let's dive in. First and foremost, start with your revenue goals. I want you to think about your goals for this year and write down a number. Here's what I want to achieve. What is that overall revenue goal, the overall growth goal? What are your organizational goals, your targeting goals, any other goals that you have in mind? I like to break goals down into segments. So for example, if you have more than one service line, I want you to break down the overall revenue goal into goals for each service line or industry sector that you serve. I also want you to break that down in terms of what's recurring revenue. So if you want to achieve X amount of revenue for this year, a certain percentage of that may be a carryover from 2020 or current clients that you're working with. And then that's recurring or our existing revenue. And then we have what I call net new. So the more you can get granular around revenue goals, the better off you'll be. Because the approach that I recommend is to break it down like this. So what is your desired revenue? What's the average deal size? And this is a calculation. So what's the average client or deal mean to you in terms of revenue? If you take step one divided by step two, that gives you the number of deals that are clients that you need. You want to look back historically at your close ratio and say, out of all the opportunities I've had, and you may or may not want to look at 2020 as your basis for your close ratio, because we all know it was kind of a weird year. So you could look at historic years, 2019, 2018, look back a little bit and get an average of close ratio. So if you talk to 10 opportunities, how many of those were filled within X amount of time? How many could you close? And then if you take the number of deals you need divided by the close ratio, then you get the number of targets that you need. And that's really the top of your funnel. So how much do you need to fill in top of your funnel? What do you need coming in order that, as we take into consideration those that are really ready to buy, those that are may stall out, those that need a ton of time and are slow to change and slow to make decisions, those that have something happen where their intent to engage your firm, you are your firm, gets derailed for whatever reason, and those that are successful. So when you take all of those elements, that some are predictable and some are not predictable, into consideration, and you look at then what you need coming out on the other end of your funnel, on the in terms of clients and new business, then, and you calculate that, it tells you how many opportunities you should be working, and you need to be working real opportunities, not just hopeful opportunities, but real ones that you need to be working at any given time so that you can achieve your goals. And when you think about calculating it this way and looking at it from this perspective, it really helps you get focused. And so on your marketing plan, there's on the left-hand side, there's a revenue goal. So I want you to write your revenue goals, and then as you break that down into quarterly goals, you can come down on the left-hand side and say, what do you need to do quarterly? Number of clients, number of opportunities, how many deals do you need to close, or new clients do you need to have, how many proposals? You can break it down step by step by quarter. And so you get down into really bite-sized chunks, and that's what I want you to do. That's goal setting. And I'll tell you this, if you only complete the left-hand column of that one-page marketing plan, you go through what you need to accomplish from a goals perspective, and you get that done, you will be so far ahead of everybody else in the marketplace. It's just mind-boggling. And it'll keep you focused on your goals. Plus, you're more likely then to start implementing some of those things and really move forward in the process than if you didn't set them in the first place. So even if you just do the left-hand column and set those goals, you're far ahead of the game. The next thing I want you to look at is target market. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, I know exactly who I'm talking to. I know the people I'm talking to. I know who they are, what they're about, all of that good stuff. What I want you to do is take the time to really think about your target audience. Because one thing I see from a marketing and business development perspective that happens time and time and time again is everybody goes into sales mode and they forget the helping part of the buying process. They forget that our focus should be on solving the issues and the challenges and the problems of our target audience members. And they go into hawking their wares, pitching their services. They go into full-blown sales mode. And when we think about helping versus selling something is myopic. It is one-sided. It is about me, and it doesn't give a flip about you, what your needs are, what your drives are, what your concerns are, what your challenges are. But when you go into helping mode, how can I help them? How can I help my target audience expand their businesses, add value, create a stronger, better, more highly functional business organization? How can I help them prepare for the next step in their business? How can I help them expand, achieve their goals? When you get into helping mode, yes, your services come into play, but your focus, the difference between those two is your focus maintains solidly on them and not you. And that is the key to good marketing. When we're in helping mode, people are receptive to your message, and they're going to listen to you. They're going to look to you as a knowledge leader. They're going to look to you as a close confidant. They're going to look to you as the expert that you are. When you go into sales mode, people put the old hand up. Whoa, I don't want to be sold to. So if you go through the process of really thinking about your target market, and I don't care how long you've been in business, think through your current clients, look at your client base. Are these the clients you want to implement and to, what I like to say is clone? You want more of those current clients, or are there ones that you would rather not serve? What does the optimal client look like? And be as descriptive as you can. What industry are they in? What geographic location are they in? What revenue size do they fall in? What age? What gender? What are their psychodemographics? So how do they think? And one of the ways to do this is looking at then your service line, your services that you provide. So as you start thinking about your target audience, so how do my services relate? How do they address the needs of these people, these individuals I'm talking to? What are my competitors doing? What are they saying? What are they doing? How are they positioning themselves? How am I segmented in the marketplace? So by that, I mean, how do I want to be known? How do I want to be seen in the marketplace? What kind of niche can I carve out? Do your research in terms of diving in deep, taking the time to go through this, even if you've been in business for a considerable amount of time. Because you know what? Industries change, needs change, the way they do business changes. What keeps them up today may not be what kept them up a year ago or 2 years ago. And then a good tool to use is to create what's called personas. So personas are a semi-fictional kind of process. And I think of it like a LinkedIn profile, where it's kind of based on this research, this data, looking at optimal clients that you have, clients that you would love to have, and then putting that into a fictional kind of characteristic, giving it finding a picture of what your optimal client looks like, give them a name, give them an age, give them an educational background, give them a city or geographic location, give them some hobbies, talk about their wants, their desires, give them a quote. I like to do a quote. What did this person say? What are their goals about their business? And when you kind of go through this and you look at it and get input from your team members, get input from others in the marketplace, and think about, am I relating? When you do personas, it helps you understand where your gaps in communication lie, where your gaps in marketing are located, what you're doing right, where you're missing the mark. It really helps clarify things for you. So that's that target market and that second column. Then when you come down, it's like the tools. What tools are you going to use? And I kind of use this circular sort of diagram here with a few of the tools. And what I want you to do in the second column in the bottom box is just list what you're currently doing. What do you currently have? Do you have a website? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have referral sources or centers of influence? Do you have social media channels? List them. Are you doing direct mail? Are you doing webinars, podcasts? Do you do workshops, either virtual or formally, we remember when it was in person? Are you doing any kind of optimization, search optimization? Do you do any kind of promoted posts or search engine marketing like Google Ads? Do you do any publishing or ebooks or public relations? Do you do any other kind of advertising, speaking engagements? And the list goes on. So list the tools that you currently have. And then I want you to star the ones that are working. So in a good way to do this, take that optimal client list that we started with and say, here are the people that I really like working with. They pay me well for my services. They see me as the expert that I am. They see me as the knowledge leader. I am their go-to person. All the things that you want to be seen for. And I would like to clone these people. That I would love everything about them, and I want more of those kind of people. And then I want you to put beside their name, as you look at that list of tools that you have, how you met them. How did they get to you? Did they visit your website? Did they subscribe to your e-newsletter? Did they read a lot of your content? Did you meet them? Did they hear you speak? Did they follow you on social? And you might have several different categories for people. So just from a marketing perspective, as a side note, there are kind of two ways of thinking in terms of how do we allocate credit for this. One way of thinking about it from a methodology in marketing is you give credit to the first entree point. So if they first visited your website and filled out a form, you give credit to that form, that website form, as their first entree point, or if they first subscribe to your newsletter, etc. So the other way, the other methodology of how do you give credit for what's working and what's not working is you give some kind of weighted average to all the tools that they use or all the ways that they interface with your organization. By that, I mean, if they completed a form on your website, subscribed to your newsletter, they were actually referred to you by a key center of influence, they then followed you on your social channels, they heard you speak, they attended your webinars or podcast, listened to your podcast or what have you, then you may have 6 or 7 tools in your toolbox that led to this person becoming a client, a great optimal client. And 2 ways of thinking in this methodology is we give equal weight to all of those 6 or 7 key elements, those tools, or we have some weighted average. Now, weighted average takes a little bit more effort. For today's webinar, I would say that if you have, I would not mess really with the weighted average. I would go for more of the giving credit for all of the ways that they came to you. Now, somebody just commented, and I want to add to this. Perhaps somebody would call it advertising that, but they found that sponsoring something at a physical or virtual conference helps to get the name out. It's a great way. I didn't have enough room to list all the tool elements here, but you're absolutely right, is that ad sponsorships. This is just an example of what might be in your toolbox in terms of the ways that you're getting out there. I just want you at this step to list the tools, list them all, everything that you have. Once you go through that process of where your optimal clients came from, you again start to see gaps in what's working and what's not working. And that's the real important thing. So, for example, if you're seeing that your optimal clients all came to you from your centers of influence or referral sources, or, in the example that was chatted in, where they said, they met people through these sponsorships. If that's the number one source, but you're spending a lot of resources, time and effort on these other elements, but they're not generating any results, you ask yourself, are they playing a supportive role? And that's why you want to list out all the channels and tactics that people interfaced with. Or could you get by without them? Could you hone your marketing efforts? And that's what I want you to think about today. Could you hone your marketing? Are you doing the things that you should be doing? Now, at this stage, I want you to move into the third column, upper right. That's 30 to 90 day milestones and quick wins. So that is, are there any opportunities that you have in the hopper right now that you could focus on? Any leads, any opportunities, anything where you could then focus on to achieve a quick win? Is there anything that's been sitting out there? So I want you to think 30, 60, 90 day kind of sprints. If you ever have used a Scrum methodology or anything like that, Agile methodology, they think in terms of sprints. So that's how I want you to think of your marketing effort too, and your marketing plan. Little sprints, and sometimes just to get organizations started, I'll start with 2-week sprints. Like, let's just figure out what we're going to do this week and next. Let's don't focus on the rest of it. Let's just focus on a couple of things that we can do today to make a difference and to get momentum built, and worry about the rest later. That's what I want you to put in that upper right-hand column. So what is it? Is there a key referral source that you could call or have a virtual coffee with or a lunch with? If your geographic area is open, what is there a proposal that's been hanging out there, an opportunity that you could close today? Is there somebody that you could follow up with? Was there somebody that went dormant in the past year that may still be there and may be a warm or even a hot lead for you? What is it that you can do? Maybe it's something simple like write a blog. I could write a blog today and I could publish one blog within the next 2 weeks. Whatever it is. One thing, 2 things, half a dozen things, but I want them to be very quick, achievable, easy to accomplish, not drawn out kind of activities that enable you to get momentum. Yes, it's important for them to be time bound. That's exactly why I want you to do these small little sprints, something that'll get it going. Now, if you have a team, the third column, bottom section is what role are your team members going to play? Who do you have, either internal, external, combination of the two, that can help you get things done? What role do they play in the marketing and business development efforts? And just listing those, kind of just getting it down on paper. I have this person that helps me do this. I have this person handling search engine optimization. This person can write and they could do a blog post or what have you. So anybody that you have, and if it's just you, it might be just you. And even if it's just you, I want you to say, to clarify your role so that you're not trying to be all things to all people and failing at being any of those. I want you to focus. This is a way to get focused. So knowing on paper that you have limited resources, limited team members to depend upon, great reminder. Great reminder that we need to focus. So on the next page, the next area is key activity metrics. How are you going to measure results? You can start from your goals and then work backwards. So for example, to produce one retainer deal, perhaps historically, you've had to have at least 60 leads. You've had to have 10 to 12 exploratory calls or discovery sessions or what have you. You've had 4 goal setting or planning calls, 2 final presentations that results in 2 proposals or what have you to land 1 client. Okay, just whatever the historic numbers are. And sometimes you might have to just guess at this stage, just kind of estimate what it is that you have to produce to get to the number of deals. I have never seen a professional services organization, any kind of consulting organization, where there was a one-to-one correlation, where every opportunity that came in the door was closed in the same amount of time, that it was all equal. I've never seen that. And there's so many variables, as I mentioned before, where things happen. And not just 2020 happens. Other stuff happens in people's lives, in people's organizations. They lose a key team member and their focus is taken off. Maybe something happens in their personal family life and they have to think about, they have to fill that role. And again, they're distracted. So stuff happens. People get discouraged. Maybe they have cash flow issues. So but think about the time value. And somebody's asked one question about metrics. So what about metrics for keeping the lead alive? And that's what I mean by when we're talking about time value. So and a lot of times in professional services, selling professional services, the time that it takes to close a deal may be elongated over selling a service or a product, especially a consumer product, where those times are often compressed. You know, the time that it takes to sell a pen or some copy paper is a lot less than what it takes to sell professional services. So we have that lead time, that nurturing time that it takes. When you start to look at it, you have to take that time value into consideration. And that's why I'm saying very seldom, if ever, I've never seen a one-to-one correlation. They come in, they move through at a steady pace, and then they you close every single deal. I've just never, it just doesn't happen that way. Somebody mentioned that they just closed the deal that they had first contacted them 4 years ago. That's not unusual. 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to have somebody in the pipeline is not unusual for professional services. Lots of things get in the way. You have to take that into consideration. But think about the metrics that you need to have when that time value, like this individual, it says they took 4 years to close this opportunity. That makes your funnel very wide at the top, that you have to have things in there and you have to have them in the middle of your funnel, nurturing them, because they're moving through that buying process at different speeds. And some of them, you can't even use the word speed with them, with how slowly they're moving. Then when you think of the types of activities that you're going to do, what are you going to do next? Then the middle part is on the second page is your approach. So how are you going to reach your revenue goals, your quarterly goals? So anything that you can do in terms of very specific things that you can then take away. So first page of this plan, we have identified kind of all our tools in our toolbox. And then on this page, in this section, committing to certain activities, a little bit longer term than those quick wins that got us going and keeps us motivated, but some little bigger aspirational activities that we can think of that you want to do. Is at perhaps you need to improve your prospect list. Perhaps you need to update your email list. Perhaps you need to revamp your newsletter, or you want to launch your podcast. You want to consistently publish a blog. So you can think about all the different things, but I want you to commit on page 2. So what are the things that you're going to do? And these can be a little bit higher level. And then how are you going to do it? So if you're saying, for example, a blog post, I'm going to post 2 blogs a month consistently. How are you going to get that done? This is where I want you to be very, very specific. So if we use the blog as an example, do you have a list of topics? Maybe it is get my team together and think about and just generate a list of topics. I need to set time aside for me to brainstorm topics for my blogs. Then it may be I want to generate the outline. Then I need to send this to so and so on my team to write it, to put the first draft together, or I need to hire an outside writer to do that, or a firm or whatever. And then, I need to proof it. So the more granular you can get here, the better you're going to do. But these metrics help you get, in these approach activities, these combined, help you get really focused about your action steps. So describe a few areas in which you'll focus, then how you're going to get that done and break it down into steps. The third column over there is about the ongoing actions that you'll take. So and I want you to break those into 2 sections. So you look at your current clients. What do you need to do to make sure they're not only happy and excited about your services and feel valued as your clients, but Are there things that you can do to turn clients into advocates for your firm? So where they're actively sending you prospects. What are those actions that you can do? And what I found so often in professional services is that we kind of forget about the clients. We get into this mode of our process, implementing our process, and we just forget the nice day-to-day things that we should be doing to keep them engaged. There's also one of the areas in ongoing action as it relates to retaining clients that we overlook. And that is there an opportunity to add greater value? You know, we commonly call this upsell or cross-sell. What's next? So these are things that you can do to enhance the relationship, add more value, take them to the next phase or level or step. What else can you do to help their business? Think about those actions, activities. Sometimes what simply needs to happen is that you just need to contact your clients when you don't need anything. Just circle with them, reach out to them, check in. How's it going? What's been happening? And just check a little check-in when you don't need anything. You're not pushing them for a deliverable. You're not trying to sell them something else. There's no need. There's just a touch base, a check-in. So think about if they need to, if you have clients or prospect or clients up for renewal, what are you going to do? What actions do you need to take to get them to re-up? Have their needs changed? Are their expectations or deliverables changed? Do you need to modify anything one way or the other? Is there do you need to deepen the relationship? Take a step back, look at that. Now, the other thing to look at is to referrals. So these ongoing actions to obtain referrals. In professional services, while all the other marketing areas can help generate opportunities, can generate leads for you, things like that, we still know there is a significant percentage of business that comes from referrals. But you know what? It is up to us to make sure that we're keeping our referral sources, our centers of influence, well educated. When's the last time you posted and kept them up to date on LinkedIn? When's the last time you posted a blog on LinkedIn? When's the last time you sent them something? When's the last time you just had a general conversation with your key referral sources or your centers of influence? When's the last time you gave them a referral? When is the last time you just said, hey, I just want to bring you up to speed. Would you listen to my presentation, kind of my pitch on our services? I just want to get your feedback. Okay, and you give them the pitch you might give a prospect. Ask for what you could clarify, what you could do better in this pitch, what was clear, what wasn't clear. That is a little trick of the trade. When you do that, you're educating your referral sources on everything else and all the other ways that you add value to your clients. And you're educating them on services that they may not realize that you do. But at the same time, you're asking for their input, and it's giving you good information from which you can enhance what you do. So think about those ongoing actions that you can do. How do you expand? Can you introduce them into each other? Is there a way you can give them a referral? How do you add value to their lives? These referral sources or centers of influence. And Once you fill that out, that's that third column, ongoing actions. Put them on your calendar. Make time, set time specifically every single week to make sure some of these consistent activities happen. If you have a pretty big client list, then put them on a calendar for you to follow up with them, just to give them a quick call. How's it going? Touch base. Allocate 15, 20 minutes. Put them on the calendar. Today I'm gonna call George. We're gonna just touch base and chat. I don't want anything. I'm not gonna do a big sales pitch. Just gonna see how things are going. Put it on your calendar. Now, the next phase of this is about your action plan. Now, before I go into that, and there were a couple of comments that were made. And one of these comments is about how many people does it take to contact in order to achieve a certain amount of closings per year. And in this message, one of the comments was made that some of the people said they needed to talk to 250 people a year in order to achieve 2 closings a year. As much as I wish I could say there's some hard and fast rule to follow, you really cannot follow any of those rules. And 250 for most to close 2 deals is, I think, a very poor close ratio. What happens is that if we really analyze the 250 people that they talk to, one is I would look at, are all those people truly leads and true opportunities, or were some of them really referral sources that should go into a different category? So the numbers look different. Second thing is, are you qualifying? People should not get into your funnel unless they meet some level of qualification. And what I mean by that is the biggest time waste that I see in marketing is that professional service providers, consultants waste time talking to people that cannot buy, that have no intention of buying, that would never act, that aren't qualified, that don't meet their level of optimal client, the description of an optimal client. And we spend all this time, money, and effort talking to those people and talking until we're blue in the face. And you know what? They're never going to buy from you. But here's another marketing trick that I want you to take away. Your time, the services you deliver, are as valuable, if not more valuable, than that prospect's time. When you start to think about what you deliver and the value you deliver in that way, and you start to qualify up front and ask really specific questions to see if they even deserve being in your funnel. One thing that is really unusual that happens, and that is, yes, you will eliminate people from your funnel because they will say, I don't fit that criteria. I'm not ready. I'm not really serious. And I'm not, they will eliminate themselves. There's a second group that will admit, I'm not ready yet. So they will say, hey, you know what? Keep me on your newsletter list, but I'm a year, 2 years, maybe 4 years out from being ready. And that's okay. You know where they fit. But the other thing, and this is the very unusual thing that happens, when you start to qualify up front to see if they even deserve to be in your funnel, they start selling you on why they would make a good client. Their attitude shifts. And they start going, whoa, wait a minute. George, here's my commitment. Here's what I'm willing to do. Here's what I think. They start telling you all the ways that they meet your criteria. So the more you're willing to kind of push back a little bit, and I don't mean in an ugly way, but to really say, I totally get it. Not everybody is a fit for our firm. I want to add the most value possible. Let me talk a little bit. Let me ask you some questions. The more you have qualifying questions, the smaller that number is of the number of people that you really need to have in your pipeline at any given time, in your funnel at any given time. So instead of 250, it goes to 50 or 25 because you're nurturing them through and they're highly qualified and they're motivated, or you know exactly where they stand. And you're spending time on truly qualified, motivated opportunities, leads that are true prospects, and not just on every visitor that happens in. So the last part of this one-page marketing plan, and I'm stretching it because it is front and back, or 2 pages if you want, is your action plan. Now, here's where I want you to combine everything that you've said. So you have these quick wins, you have your goals, you have your approach of what you'll do, you have your ongoing actions. And I gave you 10 lines there of specific things that are actionable items, but I want you to be smart about it. And that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. I want you to give yourself a time frame for completion. Put it on your calendar, tell somebody else about it. But look back at those goals, look back at all the things that you put in these little sections of this quick marketing plan, and put some key elements down in the action plan that you're willing to do and you can check off your list. If you do that and you follow this kind of guideline, you are more likely to get momentum started and be focused than ever before and achieve those results. I know we had some questions pop up during that. I think I've addressed most, if not all, of those questions, but let's open it up to see if there are any other comments. George, if you have other comments or questions you'd like to chime in with, or suggestions as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Christine. And there was one question about CRM, and I think I know where your head is on that, but do you want to comment about using a CRM and maybe even a slightly more sophisticated system than that?
Yes. So I'll tell you, I'm a huge fan of HubSpot's CRM. They have a free CRM. It is easy to use. It's scalable. It is easy to adopt. It's very dependable. It's logical. So my first and foremost thing, if you don't have one, get one. If you want an online one, check out HubSpot CRM. I'm happy to give you a demo. I know George uses it as well.
Yep.
It's powerful, and you can move up into some basic levels for a very inexpensive rate with that. Very inexpensive. I do have some clients that use Zoho. Now I'll tell you, they are getting the most out of Zoho because they have had people program Zoho specifically for their needs. So they have spent the investment in Zoho for to make it work. And it is very, very powerful, but they've made an investment in that. So understand that it's more complicated and complex. It's not that difficult to use, but it does take some getting used to, and it does take some effort to do that. But, if you don't have anything, start with an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
If all you can do is an Excel spreadsheet, start there. Do something. Don't just keep it scattered. And Outlook is not a CRM.
Yeah, and Ricardo commented that he uses Zoho for email, but that the CRM seems complex. And I can tell you, Ricardo, we used Zoho previously years ago. We then moved to a software, a CRM, which is outstanding for financial planners, called Cool Life. And ultimately we ended up with HubSpot, and I'm a big HubSpot fan. I'm a big Cool Life fan. We moved to HubSpot for our own reasons. But if you check out those two, there are a lot of good CRM systems out there. But to Christine's point, and it's one we make in our marketing webinar, if you don't have a CRM, get one. It will absolutely change your relationship with the data.
Mm-hmm. And start small.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about Pipedrive. I think, Pipedrive has a good reputation in there. I've had most of my clients that were on Pipedrive switch to HubSpot, quite frankly, and they're loving it. And it wasn't anything necessarily to do bad with Pipedrive, so much as just the greater benefits of HubSpot. And I don't want to be a HubSpot, like this isn't a HubSpot commercial. So I'm just, telling you my experience. Somebody commented on Plan Plus. So I don't have any experience on Plan Plus. George, have you had exposure to Plan Plus? It sounds like it's a CRM that kind of incorporates sort of a Franklin Planner approach. I know from experience of those who have gone through the older and still their Franklin planning training that really needed that discipline, they really found value, it out of that approach, because it got them very, very, very organized. So, I would really look at what's kind of what your challenges are and analyze it there.
Yeah.
And then make a decision, but check them out. Take the time to check them out.
Yeah. And I would just make, again, I don't represent HubSpot. Christine happens to be a HubSpot partner, and we work together inside HubSpot. But one of the things that attracted me to HubSpot in the first place was the fact that I got a free CRM. And Sue Lewis was hammering on me. We got to use this. We got to use this. We got to use this. Great. So then it gives you forms that you can actually very easily have your team embed in your current website without making massive changes.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have forms that when leads click through is being recorded in your CRM. Well, now we're starting to get some feel for behavior, right? Where you can connect it. We use G Suite, right? You can connect it to a number of different email clients. So now the emails are automatically getting saved to the client account. So you're starting to create a single source of marketing truth about someone's behavior. And it's very edifying to go in and, and luckily we're all getting used to this, right? It used to be creepy. Now we're like, well, of course, you know that. Yeah. So I can go in and see what websites you've been on, what information you've downloaded, how many times you've opened an email, whether you have or you haven't. It allows us to be much more efficient and keep your email inbox uncluttered. You'll notice you don't get 1,000 emails from us. It's because we're very, very, you've given us permission to communicate with you. If you apply that same philosophy to your clients, see Christine smiling. Yeah. If you apply that same philosophy to your prospects, then suddenly you're a valuable, how many lines does Yoda have, right? 4 in the whole Star Wars thing. But who do we all remember as the wise person we would turn to? Yoda. I don't want to say be Yoda, but I mean, by making informed decisions about what to communicate and when, you're respecting the permission. And that's what we all forget, right? Your prospects are giving you permission. And just because they said hello does not mean they want to marry you. We need to get there. Let's have a cup of coffee, maybe go out for lunch,
And I just went through with a client how to analyze HubSpot information. It's pretty easy to see. They tell you a story when you have a tool like this that shows what they're interested in. And I went through, one of their key prospects had quite a few visits to their website. And I went through, and this was with a partner of a firm that kind of went through the story and told them the story as we were looking at this person's contact profile, and it was in HubSpot. And I said, okay, look, they registered for this. Here's this webinar. This is how they came in. They registered for this. They attended it. So then they went to this landing page. They read this article. A day later, they came back to that article, and then they downloaded this. 2 days later, they came back to this, and then they went to this page and this page and this page, all related things. What do you think is their issue? Oh,
Yeah.
like, what can we surmise by this individual? And we just went through all of the behavior that they had demonstrated. And it told a very clear story about what the challenges were and the pain points in that organization. And we then strategized what were the next steps. It was pretty simple. We had another piece of content. This partner emailed this person and said, hey, I thought you might find this of interest as well, to supplement, the information that we conveyed in this webinar, blah, blah, blah. And if you'd like to talk about it, let's set up a time.
Yeah.
Put a link into their calendar so they could click and do that.
Yep.
Set the time up. That person took them up, read it. We could see that they opened the email, downloaded the info. They talked about it. They set up a time to talk. And you know what? They got an RFP to propose on their business, and they landed a huge a huge piece of business as a consequence.
Yep.
And at no time was it, let me talk to you about our services. We can help you. It looks like you have this problem. Let me sell you. No. It was, hey, I thought you might find this of interest.
Yep.
If you want to talk, let me know.
That's right. That's how much, and that's putting the permission back on the client.
Exactly.
Hey, Christine, listen, we're at the top of the hour. That was fantastic, as always. Thank you very much. And,
thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a prequel to what Christine will cover in the Growth Consulting Summit. So thank you very much for coming. Anything you want to add in closing, Christine?
I'd just like to say, stay in touch. We have a ton of information. If you have any questions about building out this marketing plan for yourself, let us know. We're happy to answer questions. George goes through a similar kind of approach for his business, and it works.
Yeah, it does. It's inbound. It's the best. All right. Outstanding. Listen, thanks, Christine. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye.